The cargo ship landed with a soft hiss on docking bay 7, stretched his arms above his head and checked the control panel one last time. Everything looked good. The journey from Earth had taken 3 weeks, and his shoulders ached from sitting in the pilot's chair. "Captain, we're cleared for entry," Jin said from the navigation seat. She was already unbuckling her safety straps, eager to step onto solid ground. Nodded. "Let's make this quick. We need supplies and then we're gone. I don't like spending too much time on these big stations." Meridian Cross was one of the largest space stations in this sector. Hundreds of alien species came here to trade, talk politics, and make deals. For humans it was still strange to walk among so many different creatures. Earth had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago. Many aliens still looked at humans like they were primitive children. The station's marketplace was crowded, and Jin walked through narrow corridors filled with merchants selling everything from strange fruits to weapons. The air smelled like a mix of spices and fuel. Alien voices chattered in dozens of languages. Translators embedded in their ears converted most of it to Korean, but some phrases came through garbled. "I need to check the medical supplies," Jin said. "We're running low on bandages." "Go ahead," replied. "I'll get the engine parts. Meet back at the ship in 2 hours." They split up at a junction, walked toward the mechanical district where vendors sold ship components. He kept his eyes forward, trying not to stare at the aliens around him. There was a floating jellyfish creature that glowed purple. A group of insect-like beings clicked their mandibles as they bargained. And then there were had seen them before but never up close. They were huge, standing over 8 feet tall. Their skin looked like dark green scales, and their faces were long with sharp teeth. They moved with power and confidence. Everyone else in the corridor moved aside when they passed. Today, there were 5 warriors walking together. They wore ceremonial armor that clinked with each step. Their leader was the largest, with scars across his snout and arms as thick as tree trunks. Station security kept a respectful distance. Bought his engine parts and headed back toward the meeting point. He was thinking about the route to their next destination when he heard a crash. The sound came from a side corridor. His military training kicked in. He moved quickly toward the noise, hand instinctively reaching for the small plasma pistol on his belt. He rounded the corner and saw Jin on the ground, surrounded by scattered medical supplies. Standing over her was the largest warrior, the one with the scars. "I apologize," Jin was saying in a shaky voice. "I didn't see you, I'm sorry." They didn't move. His eyes, yellow and cold, stared down at her. The other 4 warriors had formed a semicircle behind him. Stepped forward. "Is there a problem here?" The slowly turned his head. When he saw, something like amusement crossed his reptilian face. "Another human. This female bumped into me. She touched my armor without permission." "It was an accident," said calmly. He helped Jin to her feet. "She apologized. Let's all move on." They took a step closer. Now could smell him, a scent like hot metal and sulfur. "You do not understand, human. In culture, uninvited touch is a grave insult. It demands satisfaction." A crowd had started to gather. Aliens of various species watched from a safe distance. Noticed station security approaching, but they stopped at the edge of the crowd. They weren't going to interfere. "Satisfaction," kept his voice level. "What does that mean?" The warrior's mouth opened in what might have been a smile. His teeth were like knives. "Combat. Ritual combat. Your female must face me in the arena, or your entire species shares her dishonor." Jin grabbed his arm. "Captain, I can't." "She's not fighting anyone," said. He looked directly at I'm the captain of our vessel. I take responsibility for my crew's actions. If there's going to be a fight, it's with me." The crowd murmured. One alien, a small bird-like creature, whistled in what sounded like surprise. The warrior tilted his head, studying like he was an interesting insect. "You challenge in her place." "I'm accepting responsibility," corrected. "There's a difference." Bold words, human. The warrior stepped back and crossed his arms. His muscles bulged under his scales. Very well. I am first blade of the delegation. I accept your substitution. We will meet in the combat arena in 3 days. You will fight until you submit or until you cannot fight anymore. Understood, said. Nodded once, then turned and walked away. His warriors followed. The crowd slowly dispersed, aliens whispering to each other in their various languages. A station security officer approached. He was a gray-skinned humanoid with 4 arms. Human, are you aware of what you just agreed to? A fight, said, in 3 days. No, the officer said quietly. You agreed to an honor duel. Under interstellar law, these challenges cannot be refused or canceled. If you don't show up, humanity will be marked as a coward species. It will affect every human trying to do business out here. Jin looked pale. Captain, I'm so sorry. I wasn't watching where I was going. This is my fault. Put a hand on her shoulder. It's nobody's fault. Accidents happen. But you can't fight him, she said, her voice cracked. Have you seen those creatures? They're trained warriors. They're bred for combat. No human has ever fought and survived. The security officer nodded. She's right. They have never lost an honor duel. Not once in 300 years of recorded history. Their strength is 3 times that of most species. Their reflexes are faster. Their bones are harder. Then it'll be an interesting 3 days, said. He guided Jin back toward their ship. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady. Fear was an old companion. He'd learned to work with it during his military years. Fear kept you sharp. It kept you alive. Back on the ship, Jin couldn't stop apologizing. Finally had to order her to stop. Listen, he said. What's done is done. I need you focused. Start researching combat styles. Find out everything you can about their weaknesses. Do they have weaknesses? She asked. Everything does, replied. He looked out the viewport at the massive station. Somewhere out there was probably laughing about the foolish human who thought he could survive 3 minutes in the arena. Didn't feel much like laughing, but he didn't feel like running either. In 3 days, the galaxy would learn something about humans. He just hoped the lesson wasn't about how easily they died. He sat down in his quarters and began to stretch. His body was older now, carrying scars from previous fights, previous wars, but it still worked. It still moved. Outside, news of the challenge spread through Meridian Cross like wildfire. By evening, every alien on the station had heard about it. The human captain who agreed to fight, most of them thought it was a joke. Didn't sleep much that night. He lay in his bunk, staring at the metal ceiling, thinking about what was coming. 3 days. The next morning, Jin knocked on his door before dawn. Station time ran on a 26-hour cycle, and the artificial lights were still dimmed to simulate night. She had dark circles under her eyes. I've been researching all night, she said, holding up her data pad. It's not good, Captain. Was already awake, doing push-ups in his quarters. He stood and wiped sweat from his forehead. Tell me. They went to the ship's small galley. Jin spread her notes across the table. Images of warriors filled the screen, along with medical charts and combat recordings. They evolved on a high-gravity world, she began. Their bones are incredibly dense. Their muscle tissue is triple-layered. They have a secondary respiratory system that prevents them from getting tired quickly. She scrolled through more data. In 300 years, they've had over 5,000 recorded honor duels. They've won every single one. Every opponent died, asked, pouring himself coffee. No, most submitted, but 12 opponents died from their injuries. 3 more were permanently disabled. Jin looked at him. Captain, the rules say you can transfer the challenge to a champion. We could hire someone. There are mercenary warriors on this station. With what money? Smiled sadly. We're cargo haulers, Jin. We barely make enough to keep the ship running. Then we run, she said. We leave now before the duel. Yes, it'll hurt humanity's reputation, but you'll be alive. Sat across from her. If I run, every human trying to make a living out here will pay for it. They'll be seen as cowards, deals will fall through, treaties won't be signed. People like you trying to build a life in the galaxy will suffer. I don't care about that, Jin said. You're my captain, you're my friend. I care about it, replied quietly. Keep researching. There has to be something useful. Later that day, a visitor arrived at their ship. She was human, middle-aged, with gray hair tied back in a practical bun. She wore a medical uniform. I'm Bora, she said. I run the human medical clinic on Meridian Cross. I heard about your situation. Invited her inside. Bora examined him with a professional eye, checking his reflexes, his breathing, his muscle tone. You're in good shape for someone your age, she said. Former military. Seoul Defense Force, confirmed. I served during the underground wars. Bora nodded. Those wars had been brutal. Humans fighting humans in tunnel networks beneath the city. It felt like ancient history now, but it had only been 20 years. That experience might help you last longer than most, Bora said. But Captain, I need to be honest. I've treated 3 humans who tried to fight other species in combat. All 3 ended up in my medical bay with broken bones and internal bleeding, and none of them fought. What are you saying? I'm saying that even if you're very skilled and very lucky, you'll probably end up severely injured. At worst. She didn't finish the sentence. After Bora left, went to the cargo bay. It was the largest space on the ship, usually filled with containers. Right now, it was mostly empty. He spent 2 hours moving through old combat drills, feeling how his body responded. His right knee ached from an old injury. His left shoulder was stiff, but his mind was clear. He thought about the underground wars, fighting in complete darkness with limited equipment, never knowing when an enemy might appear from a side tunnel, learning to move silently, to strike quickly, to survive with minimal resources. The human military had learned something important during those years. They couldn't outpower most enemies, but they could outlast them. On the second day, another visitor came. This one was tall and thin, wearing expensive diplomatic robes. He was human too. I'm Jinwoo Lee, he said. I represent Earth's diplomatic corps on Meridian Cross. They sat in the ship's common area. Jinwoo looked uncomfortable, like he didn't know how to start the conversation. Captain, your duel with has created a situation, he said carefully. The Galactic Council is watching. Other species are watching. They want to see how humans handle this. I'm handling it by showing up, said. Yes, but, Jinwoo rubbed his forehead. If you lose badly, it could set back human diplomacy by years. Species already see us as weak and backwards. This could confirm those beliefs. And if I don't show up? That would be worse, Jinwoo admitted. Look, I'm not here to pressure you. I just wanted you to understand the implications. After Jinwoo left, Jin exploded. How dare he? You're putting your life on the line and he's worried about politics. He's doing his job, said. Everyone has their role to play. That evening, they received a message through official channels. It was a formal notice about the duel. The combat would take place in the station's main arena. Due to high interest, the event would be broadcast to multiple sectors. Observers from various species would attend. Great, Jin muttered. Now it's a show. Studied the arena specifications. It was a sphere, zero-gravity environment. Combatants would use handholds and momentum to move. They'd be allowed basic protective gear but no weapons. Zero gravity. That was interesting. Had trained in low-gravity environments during his military service. Most species evolved on planets and weren't comfortable without gravity. The home world had high gravity, would be as effective floating in space. It wasn't much of an advantage, but it was something. On the third day, the day before the duel, spent most of his time alone. He ate a light meal, reviewed his research one more time, and then sat quietly in his quarters. This was his pre-battle ritual: clear the mind, accept what was coming, plan for survival but make peace with death. Jin tried to visit, but he asked for solitude. She understood. As the station's artificial sun set, painting the corridors in orange light, received an unexpected message. It was from himself. "Human Captain," the message read in translated text. "Tomorrow we fight. I respect that you stand for your crew member, but respect will not save you. I have killed opponents stronger than you. I have broken warriors more skilled than you. You will submit or you will be destroyed. This is the way of the—" Didn't reply. There was nothing to say. He lay down on his bunk and surprisingly slept deeply. He dreamed of Earth, of mountains and oceans. In his dream, he was young again, running through the forest near his childhood home. His grandfather's voice echoed through the trees. "Remember, the strong tree breaks in the storm. The reed bends and survives." He woke before the artificial dawn. His body felt ready. His mind felt calm. Today was the day. Jin met him in the galley. She'd made breakfast, though neither of them ate much. Bora arrived with a medical kit, just in case. Jinwoo sent a message wishing him luck. "Captain," Jin said as they prepared to leave the ship, "whatever happens today, I want you to know that you're the best captain I've ever served under." "Let's hope you'll still have a captain after today," replied. They walked through the station corridors toward the arena. Aliens stopped and stared. Some whispered, others pointed. A few gave what might have been encouraging gestures, though it was hard to tell with alien body language. The arena entrance loomed ahead, a massive circular door. Through it, could hear the sound of thousands of voices, alien and strange, all gathering to watch. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. The galaxy was waiting. The arena was unlike anything had seen before. It was a perfect sphere, 50 meters across, with transparent walls that let spectators watch from all angles. The interior was empty space, no gravity, just a grid of handholds built into the inner surface. Thousands of aliens filled the viewing galleries, their strange forms pressed against the glass. Floated in the entry chamber, waiting for the signal. He wore simple protective gear, padded clothing, gloves, and a thin helmet with a transparent face shield. The gear would prevent minor cuts but wouldn't stop a serious attack. Across the sphere, in the opposite entry chamber, waited. A station official floated between them. She was a blue-skinned female from a species didn't recognize. Her voice echoed through speakers. "This is a formal honor duel," she announced. "Combat will continue until one fighter submits or becomes unable to continue. Killing is permitted but not required. Station medical teams are standing by. Both fighters have agreed to these terms." The crowd noise grew louder. Could see aliens of dozens of species. Some looked excited, others looked curious. A few looked uncomfortable, like they didn't want to watch but couldn't look away. In one section, he spotted a small group of humans. Jin was there, her face tight with worry. Bora stood beside her. A few other humans he'd seen around the station had gathered too. They looked like the only people who weren't enjoying this. "Fighters acknowledge," the official said. His voice boomed through the arena. "I acknowledge, I fight with honor, I fight for pride." "I acknowledge," said simply. The official retreated to a safe observation point. A countdown appeared on displays around the arena. 10 seconds. 9, 8. Steadied his breathing. He gripped the handhold near the entry port. In zero gravity, the first move would be crucial. Momentum was everything. 5, 4, 3. Was roaring now, a deep sound that vibrated through the arena. It was a war cry meant to terrify opponents. The crowd roared with him. 2, 1. The entry ports opened. Launched himself across the arena like a missile. His powerful legs pushed off with incredible force. He crossed 20 meters in seconds, claws extended, mouth open in a battle roar. It was an overwhelming display of power and aggression. Pushed off to the side, using a handhold to change direction. Shot past him, missing by a meter. The warrior crashed into the far wall and immediately pushed off again, rotating in midair with surprising grace. "Stand and fight, human," shouted, but kept moving. He used the handholds to pull himself along the sphere's surface, never staying still. Followed, each movement powerful but somewhat clumsy. That was built for high-gravity combat, for standing firm and striking hard. Zero gravity wasn't his natural environment. The crowd began to murmur. This wasn't the kind of fight they expected. Where was the clash? Where was the violence? His frustration grew. He changed tactics, using the handholds to position himself near the center of the sphere. From there, he could push off in any direction, cutting off options. "You run like prey," taunted. "Is this human bravery?" Stopped moving. He found a handhold and anchored himself to the wall. They were about 10 meters apart now, facing each other across empty space. "I'm not running," said. His voice was calm, almost quiet. "I'm learning." "You have learned enough," growled. "Now you will learn about pain." The warrior pushed off again, but this time he was more controlled. He aimed carefully, adjusting his trajectory with small movements. His claws were extended, ready to grab and tear. Waited until the last moment. Then he pulled himself down and to the right, using 2 handholds in quick succession. His claws scraped against the wall where had been. As past, kicked out. His boot caught the warrior's leg, not hard enough to injure, but enough to spin him off course. Tumbled briefly before catching a handhold. He stared at with something new in his eyes. Not anger now, but calculation. "You have some skill," admitted. "But skill will not save you. I am stronger, I am faster, I will tear you apart." He beat his chest with one massive fist. "Human, I will crush your bones, I will break your body. Beg mercy now or face annihilation." The crowd went silent, waiting for the human's response. Looked at, he thought about Earth, about the underground wars, about every time someone told him he was too weak, too small, too human to survive. He thought about Jin watching from the gallery and all the other humans trying to make a life out here in the galaxy. "Go ahead," said. The words echoed through the arena, simple, quiet, final. Froze for a moment. He seemed confused. In culture, this was the point where opponents begged or boasted. They didn't just accept. "What did you say?" asked. "I said go ahead," repeated. "Try to crush my bones, try to break my body. I'm right here." Something changed in the atmosphere. The crowd sensed it too. This wasn't a normal fight anymore. The human wasn't fighting with honor or pride or rage. He was fighting with something else. Something that didn't translate well into other species' languages. His confusion turned to fury. He roared and launched himself again, faster and more vicious than before. This time didn't dodge. He caught his arm as the warrior reached him. The impact was massive. His shoulder screamed with pain, but he held on. He used momentum, spinning with the larger warrior, redirecting rather than stopping. They tumbled together through the zero-gravity space, tried to get his claws into position, but was too close. At this range, the powerful limbs couldn't generate full force. Struck at pressure points he'd memorized from Jin's research. The soft spots under his jaw, the nerve cluster near his shoulder, small strikes precisely placed. Roared in pain and surprise. He pushed away with brute strength. They separated, each grabbing handholds to steady themselves. "You fight like a coward," said, breathing harder now. "Striking at weak points. This is not honorable combat." "I fight to survive," replied. "Honor is a luxury." They circled each other now, both more cautious. The initial confidence had cracked. The human was still moving, still fighting, still refusing to give up or give in. Launched himself again. This time he was more careful, protecting his vulnerable spots. He managed to grab around the chest, his massive arms wrapping like steel cables. "Now I have you," hissed. He began to squeeze. Felt his ribs compress. Pain shot through his chest. He couldn't breathe. The pressure was incredible. This was what had been waiting for, a chance to use his overwhelming strength at close range. "Submit," demanded. "Submit or I will crush you." Couldn't speak. Black spots appeared in his vision. The crowd was shouting, but the sound seemed far away. He could see Jin in the gallery, her hands pressed against the glass. "Increase the pressure. I am crushing your bones, human. I can feel them bending. Submit now." Through the pain, through the lack of oxygen, forced words out. "Go ahead." His eyes widened. The human was still defiant even now. It was madness. It was suicide. But it was also distraction. While focused on crushing him, had been working his arms free. Now he had just enough space. He struck upward with both hands, fingers rigid, hitting the soft tissue under his jaw where the protective scales were thinnest. His grip loosened instantly. He gasped, his secondary breathing system shocked into paralysis. Pulled free, pushing away and grabbing a handhold. He sucked in air, his chest burning. His ribs were definitely damaged, but he was still moving. Recovered quickly, his warrior training overcoming the shock. But now he looked at differently. The human had survived his strongest attack. More than that, the human had counterattacked from within that death grip. The crowd was in chaos now. Aliens were shouting, arguing, placing new bets. The fight that should have ended in minutes was still going. And somehow, impossibly, the human was still standing. Still fighting. They floated opposite each other in the arena, both breathing hard. Scales were scratched and dull. His protective suit was torn, and he could feel blood running down his side from a cut he didn't remember getting. The fight had been going for 15 minutes now. For the warriors watching from the gallery, this was unusual. Most honor duels ended quickly. Should have dominated within the first 5 minutes. But was still moving, still fighting. Pushed off again, but his movements were slightly slower now. His species had evolved for short, explosive combat, quick strikes, overwhelming power, end the fight fast. They weren't built for endurance. Dodged again using minimal movement. He was conserving energy now, only doing what was necessary. His military training had taught him this. In a long fight, efficiency beats strength. "Why won't you fall?" roared in frustration. Didn't answer. He needed to save his breath. They clashed again. Claw caught his arm, tearing through the protective suit and into flesh. Pain flared hot and bright, but had felt pain before. In the underground wars, he'd fought for hours with broken fingers, with shrapnel in his leg, with blood in his eyes. Pain was just information. It told you that you were hurt, but not that you were finished. He struck at its knee joint, the same spot he'd hit twice before. The warrior's leg buckled. In zero gravity, it didn't matter much for movement, but saw the grimace of pain. Accumulated damage. That was the key. Each small strike added up. Each precise hit weakened the larger warrior little by little. In the gallery, a human woman named Mi-sun had started cheering. She was a trader who'd been on the station for years. Other humans joined her, their voices small against the alien noise but growing stronger. Heard them, he looked at the human section of the gallery, then back at, "Your people cheer for you. They believe you can win." "Maybe," said. His chest hurt when he spoke, definitely broken ribs. "They are fools," said, but his voice lacked the certainty it had before. They circled each other again. 20 minutes had passed, then 25. The breathing was labored now. Sweat dripped from his scales, floating away in small droplets. His body was screaming at him, his ribs stabbed with every breath. His arm was bleeding steadily. His shoulder felt like it might dislocate, but he kept moving. Humans were persistence hunters once, his grandfather had told him. They ran prey to exhaustion. They outlasted bigger, stronger animals through sheer stubborn endurance. Attacked again, but his timing was off. Slipped past his guard and struck at the warrior's throat ridge, the vulnerable spot he'd identified earlier. Gasped, his secondary breathing system shocked again. Impossible, wheezed. You should be broken, you should be unconscious. Should be, agreed, but I'm not. The alien spectators were murmuring now. This wasn't how duels went. Was supposed to be dominant, overwhelming, unstoppable. But the human kept adapting, kept surviving. In the diplomatic section, Jinwoo watched with growing amazement. He'd come here expecting to witness a tragedy. Instead, he was seeing something else entirely. Humanity announcing itself to the galaxy not through technology or diplomacy, but through raw, stubborn determination. 30 minutes passed, was visibly tired now. His attacks were slower, less precise. He made a desperate lunge, trying to end the fight with one final, overwhelming strike. Had been waiting for this. Desperation made you predictable. He used a handhold to pull himself aside and down, just like he'd practiced in the cargo bay. His momentum carried him past. And struck, not at a pressure point this time, but at its wrist, the joint that controlled the deadly claws. The warrior roared in pain. They grappled again, slower now, both exhausted. Strength was still greater, but the gap had narrowed. Fatigue was the great equalizer. Remembered his grandfather's words about reeds and storms. He bent, he adapted, he endured. Tried to wrap his arms around again, to use that crushing hold that had nearly ended the fight before. But had learned. He twisted, using the zero gravity to spin out of the grip before it fully locked. You cannot escape forever, panted. I don't have to, replied. I just have to last longer than you. That was the moment truly understood. The human wasn't trying to overpower him. The human was trying to outlast him, and it was working. 40 minutes. Launched himself again, but this time his push-off was weak. He floated slowly across the arena. Didn't even dodge. He simply moved aside and, as passed, caught his arm and used the warrior's own momentum to pull him into a joint lock. They tumbled together, and for the first time was in a position of control. He had his arm bent at an angle that would break it if pressed further. The warrior's free hand clawed at, tearing more of the protective suit, but the strikes lacked power. Submit, said quietly. Never, gasped. I do not submit. Then I'll keep hurting you until you can't fight anymore. Increased the pressure on the arm. Roared, but it was a sound of pain now, not aggression. The warrior tried to break free, tried to use his superior strength, but the position was wrong. The leverage was against him. For the first time in the fight, had the advantage. The crowd had gone almost silent. They were watching something unprecedented. A warrior, one of the galaxy's most feared fighters, was being systematically defeated by a human. Jin had tears running down her face. Bora was gripping the gallery railing so hard her knuckles were white. The other humans were holding their breath. Made one final attempt to escape. He used his legs to push against, trying to break the hold, but had positioned himself perfectly. The push-off sent them both spinning, but the joint lock remained. Submit, repeated. I cannot, said. His voice was different now. Not angry, almost sad. If I submit, I bring dishonor to my people. There's no dishonor in losing, said. You fought well, you fought with everything you had. That is not the way. Then the way is stupid, said bluntly. He increased pressure again. I can break your arm, then your other arm, then your legs. I'll keep going until the station officials stop the fight. Is that better than submission? Was silent for a long moment. Pain and exhaustion warred with pride and tradition. Finally, he spoke. If you break my arm, I cannot fight anymore. That would be acceptable, not submission, simply defeat. Understood. The warrior needed a way out that preserved his honor. Then do you still want to fight? No, admitted quietly. I am finished. Released the hold. They floated apart, both battered and exhausted. Raised his hand to signal the officials. The fight is over, he called out. Neither of us submits. We're both too hurt to continue safely. The station official floated forward cautiously. Both fighters agree. Yes, said after a moment. Then the duel is concluded, the official announced. By mutual cessation, neither warrior has been defeated, but neither can continue. It was a diplomatic fiction, a way for both fighters to exit with honor, but everyone watching knew the truth. The human had won. The crowd erupted. Some aliens cheered, others argued. The humans in the gallery were celebrating, hugging each other, laughing and crying at the same time. Medical teams entered the arena, floating toward both fighters. Bora was with them, rushing to his side. Don't move, she ordered, already scanning him with medical equipment. You have 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and about a dozen other injuries. You should be unconscious. Sorry to disappoint, said. Was being tended by medics, but before they took him away, he looked at across the arena. Their eyes met. The warrior nodded once, a gesture of respect. Nodded back, spent 2 days in the station medical facility. Bora had insisted, and for once he didn't argue. His body needed time to heal. The broken ribs had been sealed with medical foam. The punctured lung had been repaired. The various cuts and bruises were being treated with medicines that made his skin tingle. But the physical recovery was faster than he expected. The emotional aftermath took longer to process. On the first day, he had a steady stream of visitors. Jin came first, bringing food from the ship's galley. She sat beside his medical bed and cried quietly. I thought you were going to die, she said. When he grabbed you that second time, I thought it was over. So did I, admitted, for a moment. Why didn't you give up? Why didn't you submit? Looked at the ceiling. Because every human out here is building a reputation. Every choice we make tells the galaxy who we are. I needed them to see that we don't quit. Mi-sun visited with 3 other human traders. They brought gifts, earth foods, bottles of rice wine, small tokens of appreciation. You made us proud, Mi-sun said. Every human on this station just got a little more respect. Jinwoo came that afternoon. He looked different than before, less worried and more thoughtful. I've been receiving messages from Earth all morning, he said. The Council wants a full report. News of your fight has spread across multiple sectors. Is that good or bad? Asked. Good, I think. Several species have reached out to Earth for diplomatic talks. The ambassador requested a meeting. Even some of the more isolated species are showing interest in humanity now. Because I beat one of their warriors. No, Jinwoo said carefully. Because you showed them what humans are capable of. You showed endurance, strategy, the ability to adapt and overcome. These are traits the galaxy respects. On the second day, had a surprise visitor. Entered the medical bay, walking slowly. He also bore injuries, his arm in a support brace, bandages covering his throat and shoulder. The warrior looked at for a long moment. Then he performed a complex gesture, touching his fist to his chest and then extending it forward. I do not know if your translator can interpret this, said. In culture, this gesture means I acknowledge a worthy opponent. Thank you, said. You fought well too. I fought poorly, corrected. I underestimated you. I assumed physical superiority would guarantee victory. I was wrong. He moved closer to the bed. Your species, your world must be a harsh place. No species fights like that unless their entire history has been struggle. Earth isn't easy, agreed. It has high gravity compared to many worlds, extreme weather, dangerous predators, limited resources. Humans spent millions of years just trying to survive. Nodded slowly. This explains much. You do not have the natural weapons of the, you do not have the size of the or the speed of the, but you have something else. You have the ability to endure beyond reason. We call it stubbornness, said with a small smile. We call it strength, replied. I have reported to my superiors. The High Command has declared you friend. This is a rare honor. It means you have earned our respect through combat. Space is now open to human vessels. After left, lay back and thought about what that meant. Space contained dozens of valuable trade routes. Human merchants would have new opportunities. It was a significant diplomatic victory. All because he'd refused to quit. Bora released him from medical care on the third day. "You're healing faster than expected," she said, "but take it easy. No more fights for at least a month." "I'll try to avoid them," promised. Back on the ship, Jin had prepared everything for departure, but when checked their messages, he found something unexpected. They had received 17 job offers. Alien merchants wanting human crew members, shipping companies requesting human pilots, even a few exploration teams asking for human consultants. "What's happening?" asked. Jin grinned. "You happened, Captain. Suddenly everyone wants to hire humans. They think we're all like you. They're going to be disappointed." "Maybe," Jin said, "but maybe not. You showed them something real about humanity. Now they want to learn more." Over the next week, notice the changes on Meridian Cross. Humans walked through the corridors with more confidence. Aliens no longer dismissed them or pushed them aside. Trade negotiations that had been stalled suddenly moved forward. The phrase "go ahead" had become something of a legend among the station's inhabitants. Aliens used it to refer to humans' apparent fearlessness. "You want to traverse the asteroid belt? Just ask a human, they'll probably say, 'go ahead.'" It was said with respect now, not mockery. Jinwoo reported that Earth's diplomatic corps was overwhelmed with new opportunities. Several species that had previously refused contact with humans were now requesting meetings. The Galactic Council had invited Earth to participate in a major trade summit. "Your fight changed everything," Jinwoo told during a final meeting. "Not because you won, but because of how you fought. You demonstrated human qualities that the galaxy hadn't seen before." "I just did what I had to do," said. "That's exactly the point," Jinwoo replied. "Humans do what they have to do. We adapt, we endure, we don't quit. That's valuable out here." On the day of departure, and Jin prepared the ship for launch. As they went through pre-flight checks, a message came through. It was from the delegation. "Captain's voice said, I wanted to inform you that I have resigned from the honor guard. Our fight taught me that there is more to strength than tradition dictates. I am returning to my home world to train younger warriors in new techniques. I will teach them that adaptation is not weakness and that every opponent deserves careful study." There was a pause. "Thank you for the lesson, human." Sat back in his pilot seat. "Did I just change culture?" "Maybe a little," Jin said. "Is that okay?" "I have no idea," admitted. They launched from Meridian Cross, the ship rising smoothly away from the station. As they cleared the docking zone, Jin pulled up their navigation data. "Captain, we have 3 different route options. One goes through traditional human-friendly space, but we also have clearance to pass through territory now, which would cut 2 weeks off our journey. And there's a third option through a region that was previously closed to us. They've opened it specifically for the human captain who defeated." Considered the options. A month ago, they'd been limited to the safest, slowest routes. Now the galaxy was opening up. "Take the route," he decided. "Let's see what's out there." As the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, thought about the future. Humanity was still new to the galactic community. They still had much to learn, but they'd established something important, a reputation for resilience. Other species might be stronger, faster, more advanced, but humans had proven they could stand their ground. They could face impossible odds and find a way through, not by being the best, but by refusing to be beaten. In the cargo bay, safely stored away, was a gift from the delegation. It was a small statue, carved from their home world's black stone. It depicted 2 warriors, one and one human, standing together. The inscription read in both and Korean, "Strength comes in many forms." Didn't know what the future held. More challenges, certainly. More conflicts, probably. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, and humanity was still learning its place among the stars. But whatever came next, other species would remember. They would remember the human captain who faced a warrior and refused to back down. They would remember those two simple words that became a legend. Go ahead. It was an invitation and a challenge, a statement of acceptance and defiance. It meant, I know what you're capable of, I know the risks, I'm standing here anyway. Do your worst, I'll endure, I'll adapt, I'll survive. Because that's what humans do. Jin plotted their course through space. The navigation computer showed dozens of previously restricted systems now accessible to them. Each one represented new opportunities, new discoveries, new chances to show the galaxy what humanity could offer. Where are we headed, Captain? She asked. Looked at the star map, at all those new possibilities spreading out before them. He thought about Earth, about the generations of humans who had struggled and survived and built a civilization capable of reaching the stars. He thought about all the other humans out here, carving out lives in a strange and often hostile galaxy. They were all writing humanity's story together, every cargo run, every trade deal, every moment when a human faced something difficult and chose to keep going. Forward said, we're headed forward. The ship streaked through space, carrying two humans toward whatever came next. Behind them, on Meridian Cross and on dozens of other stations and worlds, the story of the duel was already spreading. It would be told and retold, changing slightly with each telling, becoming legend. But the core would remain the same. A human faced impossible odds. A human refused to quit. A human showed the galaxy that Earth's children were here to stay. And somewhere in that vast galaxy, on worlds humans had never seen, other species were taking notice. They were adjusting their strategies. They were reconsidering their assumptions. They were learning that humanity, for all its apparent weaknesses, brought something unique to the galactic community. Not superior technology or overwhelming force, but the simple, stubborn refusal to be broken. The ship's engines hummed steadily as they crossed into space. Ahead lay 1,000 worlds, 1,000,000 opportunities, countless challenges. Was ready for all of it. Go ahead, he whispered to the stars. I'm right here.